Welcome to the first ever airport edition of Final Stand. As you can see, we are on the go right now traveling to Florida, and of course, if the IRS asks, this is completely and totally a business trip. I'm not just going to Florida to have fun in the sun, spend one day doing business, and then enjoy the rest of the trip like a vacation, but use my business card the entire time and then write it all off on taxes. Definitely not going to be doing that. So IRS, if you're wondering, and there you go, there's your answer. But we have some big news stories to talk about tonight. One of them is, of course, Jim Cramer. He is continuing to have quite a blast making calls on Twitter, making calls on his show. His most recent one is this. Take a look. He says, please be careful with Dogecoin. It's a security. It will be regulated. We will find out exactly how many there are and how many are being created each day to make money for the exchanges. So Jim Cramer coming in and basically just trying to blast Dogecoin here. Now, the first initial reaction to this is, of course, oh my gosh, oh wait a second. Jim Cramer is perhaps the worst analyst in the history of finance, and literally anything he says, the exact opposite happens. And not only that, but he clearly does absolutely no research at all, because take a look in this tweet, he literally doesn't know how many Dogecoin are in existence, and he has no clue whatsoever how blockchain technology works. Jim, if you're watching, blockchain technology is decentralized. No one can control it except for the mining, which produces approximately 5 billion Dogecoin a year. The amount in circulation is 132.88 billion Dogecoin. All of this stuff can easily be found on the internet. You can easily go look at the actual transactions themselves. You can go look at each block as it was mined and clearly discover this. So for someone who considers himself to be one of the top analysts in the world, someone who a lot of people are looking to, for him to get something that simple wrong, clearly he deserves to get roasted. But it gets much better than that, because basically every single time Jim Cramer makes a call, the exact same thing happens afterwards. Now, technically, he's gotten lucky on a couple, but someone actually did, and they analyzed all of Jim Cramer's trades and discovered that more than 50% of the time, close to like 70-80% of the time, he is extremely wrong on these trades. Take a look at this. This is one example. So Jim Cramer says buy Peloton stock right there when it's at the top. And this is one of many examples. And look, right after he says to buy it, crashes extremely hard, down 87% since saying to buy. And this was pretty obvious. I mean, Peloton stock is not really one that ever really had a chance of growing strong long term. Literally anyone who looks at this can see they have a very limited amount of different products. They also are coming off of this really big push during what happened with the situation in the world. Now the situation in the world is changing a little bit, and there are other companies you can also just simply go buy a bike and go outside and bike for really less than the cost of Peloton. So the fact that Jim Cramer really had any inkling that this stock will go up, and then it falls 87% literally right after he calls it and he says to buy it, I mean, just absolutely ridiculous. And Satoshi Nakamoto saying, why aren't there more people upset about this, considering how much they lose their mind over influencers? Yeah, that's a good point. Coming in from Billy there, but that's not all. I mean, he's continued to be wrong so much, and then Jim actually had the audacity. He literally posted a picture of himself, or video rather, of himself riding a Peloton bicycle, and in this video, he says, in the description above it, don't despair, the others haven't, or the other uses haven't kicked in yet. So he's mocking people. He makes a call, it falls 87%, one of the worst calls in the history of finance, and then after making that call, he then mocks you by posting a video and saying don't despair. Dude, you just made a call that went down 87%. You made one of the worst calls ever. Anyone and their mom could have looked at this stock and said, no, that's not one you're going to want to be putting a lot of money into right now. It's extremely overbought. The market cap is way higher compared to what the actual amount of revenue coming in is. So Jim Cramer just mocking the people who we lost a ton of money for. On this channel, we've literally never had any pick close to that. Whenever we talk about crypto here, it has been extremely successful. Now, technically, there have been some times when our picks have been so overwhelmingly successful, then they fall back and fall like 80% or more than that in some cases. But even after falling 80%, because we called them so early here on the Patreon or here on the channel, most people who got in from our calls are still up massively even after an 80% fall. Now, Jim Cramer, on the other hand, will tell you to buy stock right before it's about to crash. It's almost to the point where I can't even imagine how anyone could listen to this dude and realistically think they're getting good financial advice by listening to Jim Cramer. It doesn't really make any sense at all there. And he also got roasted by Satoshi Nakamoto under this tweet here saying, please be careful with Dogecoin. Shibtoshi says, bro, please learn how blockchain works. It's already well known how many there are and how many are created every day. It is in the public code and on the public blockchain, easily viewable by anyone. In terms of security, it's a proof of work cryptocurrency, and so you have to put in the work to retrieve the coins from the block. It doesn't qualify under the Howey test. It works the same as Bitcoin. In fact, it's 99.5% the same code as Bitcoin. Please educate yourself. Billy coming in and just completely destroying Jim Cramer there. And by the way, when Billy says that it's that similar to the Bitcoin code, yes, of the overall code, Billy, obviously, as the creator of it, knows that. But one other thing I think is important to really make a distinction between Bitcoin and Dogecoin is that even though most of the code is the same, it actually is pretty different because there's a different amount that are mined every single year, 5 billion a year that continue to be mined for Dogecoin, whereas Bitcoin has a different amount as it goes down, a very, very, very different structure for Bitcoin than Dogecoin. So that small percentage, that 0.5, actually does make a big difference, and it's actually one of the reasons why Dogecoin is such a great currency. Dogecoin also has way lower fees, it has way faster transaction times, and is way better as an actual currency to be used across the globe. And so there we go, that's a little bit of the difference there, even though yes, technically the code, as Billy stated, is the same. Then I also commented this, wow, thanks, Dogecoin guaranteed to go to the moon now, because Jim Cramer put out a warning about it. It's always good to see Jim Cramer doing stuff like that. Clearly he, at this point, he must just know that anytime he makes a call, it does the exact opposite, and so maybe he's trying to help us out. We appreciate that, Jim. That's a little bit sarcasm. No, he actually seriously is this bad. I've never seen an analyst this bad ever before on anything, and yet somehow still continue to have people listen to him. It just doesn't make any sense at all. I don't get it. Like, why is anyone listening to him? Also, I found this cool picture of the Giga Berlin Tesla factory. I just thought that was interesting. They actually are painting stuff on it. Now, we need to paint a giant Dogecoin somewhere on the factory, obviously, but good job with art. Most companies like to be boring and don't actually do anything fun like paint on it, but when you're having fun as a company, productivity goes up, the amount of energy, the amount of people that want to work there, everything is better as a company when you're making steps to actually make it more fun for people. Also, the Patreon pick coming very, very, very soon here. Around 1 week is when we're looking at the actual launch, when we pick it on Patreon. And the best part about this pick, it's a fun swing pick, so this is going to be, there's a lot of risk involved, but also it can be extremely, extremely high energy, very, very, very fast, and I certainly expect this to do some insane things. The reason why is because, first of all, it's our first BNB chain pick, which I have a post on Patreon detailing exactly how you can purchase BNB picks. It's the most recent post, so if you join the Patreon, you can see and learn exactly how. Even for just that alone, it's worth joining the Patreon. But then you actually get access to these picks. We've had an extremely high record of success, multiple 100xers in the Patreon, and multiple that have just done 3x or 5x or 10x, and those are larger market cap picks. The smaller market cap ones have seen unbelievable gains over time. Not every pick will be successful, but it's definitely worth it to go and join the Patreon there. There's a link in the description, also in the pinned comment. Basically, if you want to buy on the BNB chain, all you have to do, you have Ethereum, you send it to your crypto.com wallet, then you convert it by clicking sell on crypto.com, and you can sell it to BNB. Then after you sell it to BNB, you can send that BNB back over to MetaMask, but make sure that you switch your MetaMask from Ethereum to Binance Smart Chain, which is pretty easy to do. You just click settings, then you go to network and you click add network, and then you go Google how to add a network on MetaMask, and it's pretty easy. Then you can just send your BNB directly to MetaMask and go through about the same process as you do with buying a pick on ETH, except for instead you use PancakeSwap, not Uniswap, and you trade BNB for the pick. It's all simple. If you know how to trade in ETH, this is basically the same thing, but the difference is the fees are way lower, so this pick can go way more crazy because a lot more small investors can get involved, and it's actually, you will get in very, 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 very early because we're actually coordinating the launch of this cryptocurrency with the time of the Patreon pick. So you'll get in at the same exact time as anyone else who got in first. Pretty cool of an opportunity, so definitely come and check it out and join us there. Very, 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 very worth it indeed. And also, another thing, so Jim Cramer is not just wrong on some things, he's wrong on pretty much everything he does. So the other pick that he got extremely wrong is Netflix. Take a look at this. So Jim Cramer says buy Netflix, it's at $5.97 approximately. He calls it, and then boom, some of the most red candles I've ever seen in the stock market world. It just started falling like crazy. Huge red candles on the chart. Look at that. Jim Cramer makes the call, then this happens. Right after he makes the call, literally days after he makes the call on January 3rd, and then he does the same exact thing. Now Jim Cramer is posting about Netflix and mocking people. He says Netflix is driving the entertainment stocks into a bear market world as if we are done watching. My thesis is we're at last out of time, says Jim Cramer. And so Jim says we're out of time, which is just ridiculous. You said to buy Netflix stock. You said Netflix buy right before the dump. And it seemed like you almost knew what was going to happen here. It's like Jim is literally trying to make these big hedge funds money. Of course, that would make sense. Why do his picks continue to be wrong? Well, maybe because he's getting paid to do them rather than actually making picks based on what he wants to make. So very fascinating stuff coming in all across the news today. Obviously, since this is the first ever airport edition of Final Stand, you're definitely going to want to hit that like button so this video can absolutely take off. There we go, a little bit of pun action being thrown in there as we continue to see these crazy predictions all over the place in the crypto world and all over the place in the stock world. The truth is, the only people you can trust are the people who actually look at the stats and make decisions based on what they think are right, not people who are getting paid. Because if someone's getting paid, then it doesn't necessarily mean they like the pick. In fact, you have to wonder where those marketing dollars coming from, and the answer is it's coming from you buying whatever the heck this person is telling you to if they're getting paid. So just interesting stuff. And obviously, anything Jim Cramer says, if you do the exact opposite, there's a decent chance you shall be very successful. Basically, now that Jim Cramer has come out against Dogecoin, it just means now's the perfect time to be looking at Dogecoin. Now's the perfect time to be wanting to hold it. And Jim, please say more negative things about Doge. We're all going to really appreciate that, as of course it will make Doge go even higher. Anyway, I'm Wallace. This is Final Stand, and I will see you in the next video.